Hey everyone, welcome to Conversations with Azu, the Vitality and More podcast. It's always a pleasure to share this space with you all. I'm the founder of Vitality and More and author of Follow Your Heart, Live, Eat, Be. This podcast is about connecting real conversations around wholeness and wellness. I share my wisdom around topics that will inspire you to make an inward journey. Be curious, follow your heart to purposeful living, and find abundance within. Just a quick mention though, as always, this podcast does not in any way offer medical or professional health advice, as I'm not trained in either of these areas. What this podcast does do, however, is offer a platform where we can have these conversations to help guide us to becoming more whole, living a life of abundance, health and happiness. My purpose is to create healthy, practical and authentic conversations here so that you too can find alignment with life and know your why. Episode 13, Find Your Inner Voice. Let's dive into the conversation of finding your inner voice. So when I say find your inner voice, I'm referring to the voice of finding more of you. It's something already inside of you and nothing new. Finding your inner voice is about finding your identity. When we are speaking, writing, and sharing, be mindful and share more of who you are and what is important to you and how you see yourself and, well, the world at large. This is your inner voice. Most of us are afraid to look deep inside and find our inner voice or even tune into that inner voice. The inner voice can be seen in many different forms. There is the inner voice, which is your critic or the ego mind, the one that keeps on telling you you must be more, do more, to have more. It's the one that makes you doubt yourself. It's the one that misguides you and leads you on the wrong path. It's the voice of judgment, comparison, self-doubt, low self-esteem, and makes you question everything you do. This is the inner voice that we must learn to tame and ignore. If you feel like this inner voice is dominant, then try and do a meditation to help clear the path of these thoughts, or journal them down when they come up for you. Then there is the inner voice, which is your intuition, your inner guidance system, your higher self, your inner knowing that is giving you the little nudges and signs that you should tune into. Being able to distinguish between both voices does take practice, but you kind of know which one you should be tapping into more, right? Which one feels better? Which one is more loving, more freeing, more open? Which inner voice are you going to listen to? The one that keeps telling you that you must keep going, or that you're not good enough, or the one that tells you to slow down and that you are perfect? I know which voice I'm paying more attention to these days. How about you? Which voice are you going to tune into? Here's the thing that I've learned, and that's what I want to share here. When you find your inner voice that feels more supportive of your path, you find yourself. You are in alignment and flow. And this is part of your life purpose. When you find your inner voice, you become enough. You are comfortable with who you are, and you share this voice with others so that they too can tune in and find their voice. Like I've said before, this is why I'm so passionate about this podcast. It's about having the real talk, the real conversations, the real discussions that lead to growth, change, expansion, and awareness. The more we can talk about it and share with others, the more people can tap into their own voice and unlock their own power and abilities. When we have awareness, we have knowledge. And yes, like I've said before, knowledge is power. The moment you open your heart, the moment you start to tune into that inner voice of guidance and you understand all that you are here for, it's then that you are trusting the authenticity of your real inner voice. It's almost like you're having an internal dance with both voices, the one that's leading you to love, harmony, and flow, and the other that's driving you to chaos, drama, and force. The challenge is to listen and tune in to the answers that are being given to you. Ask your inner voice for guidance, ask your inner voice for direction, and learn to trust it. Lean into it. Keep asking. Just ask your inner voice day in and day out, and the answers and guidance will appear. The only reason that we choose the ego voice over our real inner voice of wisdom and intuition is that we are actually afraid to get the answers or messages. We don't want to see what's in our highest good, that we choose to stay in the status quo of whatever it may be for you. Most of the time, people miss the connection to their inner voice, and as they're too busy and not really present with life, not present with what is truly important. But everyone has an inner voice. Everyone has an intuition. Everyone has that gut feeling or that something that makes them do certain things and not others. So when you find some quiet time, I invite you to connect to your inner voice. Just sit and connect to what is really in your highest good and in your path for that day or that moment. Learn to trust, to listen to the subtle messages. As you become more in tune with your inner voice, it gets stronger and messages are literally more obvious. You just have to trust it. Another way you can flex your inner voice is to practice mindfulness and meditation. When we quiet our mind and connect to our inner voice, we ground ourselves. We open ourselves up to receive these insights, downloads, and messages. Journaling is also another good way to jot down what you are seeking answers for and then letting them show up for you. Our inner voice is like our inner world. When we find it, it is the key to cultivating a life of purpose, a life of integrity, wholeness, and awareness. This voice holds the key to our deepest desires, our fears, our creations, and aspirations. But how can we tune into the inner voice when we continually look for all the answers externally? We continually trust others' advice or tips rather than tune into our own. How do we do it? This is how we do it. I invite you to show up. I invite you to take small steps to bring a little awareness and mindfulness to allow your inner voice to shine through, to guide you, to show you where you need to grow, heal, and where you can elevate. When we get clarity and we learn to tune into the right inner voice, the loving, guiding, and expansive one, we learn to trust it more and more. We move away from the other voice, the one that keeps trying to tell us that we are not worthy and we must keep going and pushing no matter what it takes. Then a shift happens. The next time you feel a bit off, you feel unaligned, let's say, and you want to tune into your inner voice, come back to your heart center. Take a few deep breaths in and out and remind yourself how whole you are. Remind yourself that your inner voice is your internal compass, your safe space. It is yours and no one can interfere with it. Don't block the inner voice. Be open. Your inner voice is your path to growth and freedom. It's a different kind of awareness. It's about feeling into all the feelings. It's about regulating the inner critic voice that is always putting you down and questioning everything you say or do. So let's focus on removing the voice of judgment, criticism, and fear. Let's call in the voice of love, connection, intuition, guidance, and expansion. I know you are capable and that you can learn to trust and open up and find your inner voice. Let's conclude today with the knowing that when you ultimately tune into your voice, your true inner voice, you will feel freer. You will feel the love for yourself deepen and you will feel at ease naturally, knowing, tapping into this inner voice, feeling what's in your highest good, And understanding how to tune in more is the secret to having awareness. Release the fearful inner voice. Release the pain inner voice, the critical and judgmental inner voice, because you deserve better than that. Just trust in your high self. Trust the journey, the awareness, the awakening, the growth, the healing, the knowledge, the shift, the expansion, and change the narrative. Because when you find your inner voice and when you really understand and tune into that inner voice that is supporting you, guiding you, showing up for you day in, day out, guess what? You are already there. Please leave me a comment, rate or review the show, and let's keep this conversation growing. I really enjoyed talking with you all today. And if you love what you heard, please subscribe or share with your family and friends and let this conversation expand. Thanks for tuning in. You are beautiful and loved. And I know that you're all on the path of greater expansion for wholeness, awareness, and well-being. Namaste, beautiful friends. Sending all my love, blessings, and vitality and more your way. Until next time, please stay happy, healthy, abundant, and know that your inner voice is already there. All you have to do is trust it, tune in, and allow it to be your guide.